After many attempts of not shocking themselves with the jumper cables, the three guys were able to hook the smaller car up to the battery of the much larger truck. Knowing they had a few minutes or roughly an hour to wait for the car to charge enough to drive around, David took out his small sword he had stuffed under his driver's seat in case something were to happen that warranted him needing to fight back, and gave a few more mub swings. The blade itself was nothing special, just about 4 feet in length with one of the edges, as well as a single-handed flat sword. Though most of David's friend would just simply call it a fancy machete. The sword was also a metallic gold color that served no other purpose than being colored gold. As David was lost in his own thoughts, mostly about the dream he had, Bruce was able to start the car, which got the attention of David. He looked back and gave a small chuckle and a smile. "Well, looks like we're good to go after all," David said to the group. "If you wanted, Gregory, you can go on ahead to your home and see if your mother and son are all right. Bruce and I should be able to take care of everything from here." Answering, Gregory said, "All right. You guys take care of yourselves. We still don't know what happened, and I might not be able to help you out from here on out." David cut in. "Don't say anything further. I'd rather not jinx anything," the man said with a half-joking tone. "Anyways, see you around, my friend." With that, David took off in the car, throwing the jumper cables into the back seat. Taking the wheel, he gave a sigh, looking over to Bruce and nodding to one another. They drove away from the building. Unknown to them, that would be the last time they all saw each other and the building. The pair of friends drove away from the building, starting down the road that led straight into the city. The road held a few houses on either side, but were mostly bare until the pair reached the city limits. That was when they could see the true extent of the damage. The houses that were to be typically seen along the road now traveled had collapsed outward. David guessed that from the blast that hit them inside is what caused the damage to the poor people of the city. Picking up speed, David's fears were starting to increase. Were they going to find people dead? Crushed? He could only wonder as he drove through the streets. However, he did relax slightly when the pair saw a few people trying to dig themselves out or get back inside of the wrecked houses as they passed. "Bro, should we stop and help them?" Bruce asked, looking out the window in horror as they drove down the streets. "We could, but what about your mom or mine?" David answered, still watching the roads in case someone was going to jump out at them. Suddenly, there was a loud crash to the passenger side door, which caused David to swerve to the side for a second, before he was able to regain control. This unexpected noise caused him to look around for what it was. Down the road, there was a semi-naked man just standing outside of the road looking at them, preparing to do something that David couldn't quite see as they pulled off ahead down the road. But what struck the man as odd to David was his skin was a slight pale color to it. "Alright, that was weird. Let's go let's go get my mother, and then we can head uptown, see how yours is doing. How does that sound?" David asked, his voice getting a little shaky at the whole event before them. Yeah, let's go," Bruce said in return, looking back out the window. The rest of the drive was pretty short. The pair of friends were able to pull up to the place David's mother worked at. Now, the way the building was shaped is what saved her office and several other offices that followed. The building was shaped in a rectangular strip mall of sorts. The long structure was mostly made of concrete and metal. However, that did not stop the blast from taking a few of the front offices with the blast. David got out of his car, ran up the 5 feet of steps that led into his mother's office. Swinging the doors open, he ran in, only to shout, "Mother! Where are you?" He screamed as he looked around the small office, peering into the next area that was only separated by 5-inch thick glass. That very same glass David walked up to, peering through the window to see if he could see anything going on inside. This is where his mother should be. With his heart racing when he could not find her, just as he was turning away, he heard a noise, something that brought his attention back to the office behind the glass. A woman walking in from behind the room's walls. A woman walked out with a hand rubbing the back of her head. This woman was about 5'6" tall and had short blonde hair. Her outfit was simple enough for an older woman, consisting of blue jeans with a green blouse-like top. The most noticeable item were her outer robe-like sweater. The sweater was long enough to reach the woman's knees. With the look of being a hand-knit wool jacket, the woman walks up to the glass and smiles. "Oh, David, what brings you here?" she asked. "Shouldn't you be at work, son?" David answered, "Well, yes, normally I would, but have you seen what just happened? It's like the Northwest just got bombed or something. Bruce and I came to see if you were all right. I mean, the other few buildings on the way here are completely gone." It was at that point when David heard Bruce call out from outside, "Hey, mate, we got incoming, and they don't look friendly," Bruce said with worry to his words, which caused David to look out the big office windows to see some of the people they saw on the way to their current stop, shambling towards the car. Some were screaming, and some were trying to get their friends or family back home. This caused David to run out the door, looking back to his mother. "You stay in there for now," he called, closing the door. "Bruce, hand me my sword. Maybe I can fight them off," he said, trying to prepare himself for what would seem to be a coming fight. This is when he felt a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, son. We clearly need to get out of here," his mother calmly stated as she got into the back seat of his car. Following suit, David jumped into the driver's seat and started to get away. As they were driving, David's mother spoke up. "So, is this what you were talking about? Does anyone know what happened?" "Like I said, it looks like we were bombed by something or someone. We're currently in the middle of a mobile blackout. None of the phones seem to be connected to the internet or service." "Hold on," he said, jerking the car to the right, as a bunch of debris from many of the buildings was around them. "Where was I?" "Right. That's pretty much all I know. Not sure if the blast has ruined most of the city or it was targeted to the city, or what the people that look like they survived." What's that?" he asked the two in the car as they drove up to a military blockade. "Right. Well, that's not good. Bruce, I am so very sorry, but it looks like we can't go see your mom just yet." "Just get us home for now, David," Bruce said, looking out behind them. The group was trying to make it to him, getting smaller in the horizon. "Right. Mom, you should hold on or close your eyes. Better yet," he was telling her as they made a sharp turn onto a smaller, less well-known road. "Do both." When David said that, he shifted the car into the highest gear, speeding up to make his journey in less time than it would normally take. This drive was one of David's most dangerous trips, due to the sheer speed at which he was driving. The drive itself was filled with random bystanders trying to make sense of the scene that had just befallen before them, as well as attempting to make it to David's home before any of the military could seal off the roads. Once they hit the country back road, the drive only took them a few more minutes to reach David and Bruce's apartment complex. This apartment complex was nothing special, just the run-of-the-mill housing. After parking into a spot close to the ground floor unit David lived in, they got out to breathe in a breath of fresh air. Grabbing his keys, turning off the car, and started to look around for anything out of the place or out of the ordinary. That is when it hit him. The complex is completely destroyed.